The placement of Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops in the official Metal Gear canon has been a point of contention for some time. In the lead-up to the game's launch, and even sometime after it came out, Portable Ops was considered a canonical entry, but eventually Hideo Kojima changed his mind. As the launch of Peace Walker approached, Kojima declared that Portable Ops was not canon after all, which hasn't sat well with a lot of fans. Portable Ops tells a great story after all, one with crucial connections to other entries and has a lot of revelations that lend plenty of weight to major events in the series, so nuking it from the MGS canon wasn't exactly a popular decision. But then again, with Hideo Kojima himself no longer involved with Metal Gear, maybe Konami will eventually come up with a whole new understanding of what is and isn't part of the series canon. Whether or not that day ever comes, here we're going to talk about the full story of Portable Ops, so strap in because this is going to be an eventful ride. Before we go ahead, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos every single day and your support really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's start. Portable Ops' story is set in 1970, 6 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Naked Snake, or Big Boss, has retired from the Fox unit, but the unit itself has continued on without him, now under new leadership. And the leadership doesn't seem to have the best intentions at heart. Among that leadership are the likes of Lieutenant Cunningham, the Fox unit's torture and interrogation specialist, and Gene, the man at the very top, the charismatic leader who has somehow managed to get the entire unit and a small army of soldiers to pledge their allegiance to him. The United States government has started working on a new Metal Gear, using the plans that it managed to get its hands on following the events of MGS3. But when the Metal Gear is stolen by members of the Fox unit, it is thought that Big Boss and Major Zero are responsible. The truth, of course, is not that simple. The Fox unit, it turns out, has gone rogue and stolen the Metal Gear under new leadership, and then transported it to its base on the San Geronimo Peninsula in Colombia. Both Big Boss and Major Zero, however, are branded traitors, and Major Zero is arrested. Meanwhile, Snake has his own troubles to deal with, and is captured and abducted by the then renegade Fox unit. Why exactly? Well, they want to get their hands on the second half of the Philosopher's Legacy. While one half of the legacy is with the United States, the other half's whereabouts are unknown, and the Fox unit believes that Big Boss might know how to track it down. Following his abduction, Snake finds himself in a prison cell in the Fox unit's base, where Cunningham interrogates him and attempts to get him to divulge information on the legacy. Snake, of course, has no idea where the other half of the Philosopher's Legacy is, which means the interrogation doesn't exactly go very well for him. Once Cunningham leaves, though, Snake comes into contact with the prisoner in the cell next to him, Roy Campbell, the sole surviving member of a Green Beret unit that was sent by the US to investigate the base. Realizing that the two of them have the odds heavily stacked against them, Big Boss and Campbell decide to work together and help each other out. They find a way to escape their cells, following which Snake decides to get in touch with his old boss, Major Zero, in order to get some backup. But Zero has his own troubles to deal with, having been arrested by the Pentagon and all. Even so, when Snake tries to make contact with him over the radio, he does not come up empty-handed. He instead gets in touch with his old partners from the days of the Virtuous mission, Sigint and Paramedic, who once again end up providing support from behind the scenes. They inform Snake that both he and Zero are being charged with treason, and the only way to clear their names is for Snake to find and apprehend the man who is responsible for all the things that he and Zero are being blamed for: Gene. As Snake makes his way through the San Geronimo Peninsula on his newfound mission, he comes across more than a few interesting personalities. One of these is Python, a soldier that Snake fought with back in Vietnam many years ago. During one fateful mission, Snake believed Python to have died and left him behind, following which the injured soldier was rescued and trained by the CIA, and began harboring a deep resentment towards Big Boss. Snake and Python go head-to-head when the two run into each other again, and after defeating him in battle and making him see reason, Snake manages to convince him to switch sides once more. Someone else Snake meets is Elisa, the Fox unit's doctor, who supposedly also has a twin sister named Ursula. Both Elisa and Ursula are powerful psychics, thanks to torturous experiments that were done on them years ago in captivity, which they were saved by from none other than Gene. While Elisa is a medic, Ursula, as the much more powerful psychic, is a fierce fighter and extremely loyal to Gene, unlike Elisa, who doesn't follow him quite as blindly. Elisa tells Snake that Gene is planning on launching nukes on both the United States and the USSR, who are locked in the midst of a Cold War. Using nuclear missiles is something that she cannot abide by, and so she turns informant for Snake. Of course, it is eventually revealed much later in the game that Elisa and Ursula are actually both the same person, and that she actually suffers from dissociative identity disorder, but much more on that later. Interestingly enough, as Fox Unit's medic, Elisa is also charged with taking care of one very special soldier, a soldier that's essentially being bred by the Fox Unit and the CIA as part of the appropriately named Perfect Soldier Project. This soldier, called Null, is a fearsome fighter with powerful capabilities, but more importantly, has been brainwashed and conditioned so that after every one of his missions, his memories and emotions are wiped completely. Every time he is put back into action, he begins as a clean slate, and with no room for doubt or empathy, all he does is follows the mission. Of course, much later in the game, it is revealed that Null is none other than Frank Yeager, or as he later goes on to be known as, Gray Fox. By the time Portable Ops comes to an end, Null has broken free of his proverbial shackles and joins Big Boss's ever-growing army. Eventually, after fighting his way through many of the Fox Unit's top soldiers, Big Boss is able to uncover exactly what's going on at San Geronimo. Foreseeing an end to the Cold War, in the US, the Pentagon and the CIA are locked in a power struggle. The CIA fears that once the Cold War is over, the age of espionage and intelligence will come to an end, and it'll be rendered redundant. And the Pentagon is trying to grab this opportunity to retake control and come out as the top authority in the country. The Fox Unit, as it turns out, has been working with the CIA all along, and has been tasked with stealing the Metal Gear and delivering it to the Soviet Union, so the balance of power between the USSR and the US is maintained, and the Cold War gets extended. Soon, however, Snake discovers that the people in charge of the Fox Unit have their own motives. Cunningham, for instance, is revealed to be a double agent, because what's a Metal Gear Solid game without double agents, right? He's been working with the Pentagon all along and has been trying to get Gene to launch nukes on the USSR, which would be a terrible blow not just for them, but also for the CIA, allowing the Pentagon to become the leading power in the United States. Cunningham tries to get Big Boss to join forces with him, attempting to sway him by reminding him that his old mentor, the boss, wouldn't be dead if not for the CIA's shady tactics. But Big Boss is nothing if not a strong-willed man. He refuses, and in the fight that follows, defeats Cunningham. And then there's Gene, of course, the man in charge of the Fox Unit, who, it turns out, doesn't care about the power struggle between the CIA and the Pentagon. He wants to fire nuclear missiles on both the US and the USSR, freeing the world from their influence and the influence of the philosophers, and create a nation for soldiers without borders, known as Army's Heaven. Gene, too, tries to get Big Boss to join him, but Big Boss refuses once again.
Join me, Jack. I will give you your calling.
I'll find my own. You and your phony ideals can go to hell.
You are a soldier after all. It seems we'll never see eye to eye. Well then, the time for talk is over, Snake.
Stop!
You're too late. All preparations for Metal Gear's launch are complete.
What follows is a fierce fight between the two of them, and with the help of Elisa, or Ursula, who has become increasingly more disillusioned with Gene, manages to get the upper hand. Though Ursula dies, Snake is successful in defeating Gene, following which he destroys the Metal Gear as well, with the help from soldiers that he's recruited over the course of the entire game. Meanwhile, before dying, Gene gives Snake all the funds, equipment, and information on Army's Heaven, realizing that he's the true successor to the boss and will have much greater success in trying to enact her will. But the story isn't over yet. Portable Ops ends, as Metal Gear games often do, with the one and only Ocelot, who manages to kill the Director of Central Intelligence, in addition to acquiring all the names of the living philosophers and getting his hands on both halves of the legacy. With the philosophers out of the picture and their legacy entirely under his control, he joins up with Major Zero, and the two of them decide to begin working on their new big project, which eventually goes on to become known as the Patriots. And as Ocelot agrees to work with Zero, he sets just one condition, that Zero gets Big Boss to join up and work with them as well.
Intriguing. I'll help you with the project, but on one condition. I want him to join us. Yes, Big Boss. So that we can become the Patriots.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.